Dear friends, English literature, Introduction to Drama, As You Like It by William Shakespeare, brief questions with answers. Question 302 to 352. Question 302. What does wearing of a horn signify? Answer. Men whose wives were unfaithful were believed to grow horns on their heads, which was a sign of shame. Question 303. I know not the contents. Who is the speaker? Whom is the speaker speaking to? Answer. Sylvius, a young shepherd in the forest of autumn, is the speaker. He is speaking to Rosalind about the content of the letter written by Phoebe to Rosalind and carried by Sylvius to Rosalind. Question 304. What message has Phoebe sent to Rosalind? Ganymede via Sylvius. Answer. Phoebe sent to Rosalind the message via Sylvius that she has fallen in love with Rosalind. Question 305. What were the contents of the letter sent by Phoebe to Rosalind? Answer. The letter contains a message of love from Phoebe for Rosalind. Question 306. What is Sylvius suspected of by the person who he is speaking to? Answer. Rosalind suspects that the letter was written by not by Phoebe but by Sylvius because a woman's hand could not write such a letter. Question 307. Why is Celia sorry for Sylvius when he knows the real contents of the letter? Answer. When Sylvius learns that Phoebe has fallen in love with Rosalind Ganymede, he is heartbroken and Celia feels sorry for him. Question 308. How did Orlando save the life of Oliver from snake? Answer. When Oliver was lying asleep under an old oak tree in the forest of Arden, a snake had coiled itself around his neck and was able to biting him. At that time, Orlando came near. Hearing the noise of his footsteps, the snake uncoiled itself and slipped into the forest. Question 309. How did Orlando save the life of Oliver from a lioness? Answer. When Oliver was lying asleep under an oak tree in the forest of Arden, a lioness was waiting behind the bush with an intention to kill him when he awoke. Orlando fought with the lioness and succeeded in killing her. Thus, he saved Oliver. Question 310. What, according to Rosalind, was the correct punishment of Oliver? Answer. According to Rosalind, Oliver should have been left to prey to the hungry lioness. Question 311. Why did Orlando send Oliver to Rosalind? Answer. Orlando had sent Oliver to Rosalind with a message that he could not meet her as promised because of his sudden adventure in the forest with a lioness and a snake in order to save his brother's life. Question 312. What news did Oliver bring for Rosalind? Answer. Oliver had come with the news that Orlando could not keep his promise because he had met with an adventure and could not reach Rosalind on time as he was wounded by a lioness. Question 313. Why did Rosalind faint? Answer. Seeing the blood-soaked handkerchief of Orlando shown by Oliver, Rosalind fainted. Question 314. What did Rosalind say about her fainting? Answer. Seeing the blood-soaked handkerchief of Orlando shown by Oliver, Rosalind fainted, but she told Oliver that she had pretended to faint. It was not real. Question 315. What change is noticed in Oliver's character as told to Rosalind? Answer. Oliver had reconciled with Orlando amid tears. He was no more the wicked brother. Question 316. What advice does Oliver give Rosalind when she faints? Answer. When Rosalind faints, Oliver advises her to show courage because she was a man. Question 317. Why does Celia ask Oliver to accompany them? Answer. Oliver and Celia had been attracted to each other from the moment they met each other. for the first time, and so she wants Oliver to be with her. Question 318. Which five questions does Touchstone ask William, and what is his reply? Answer. Touchstone asked William how old he was. Number 2, whether his name was William. Number 3, whether he was born in the forest. Number 4, whether he was rich. Number 5, whether he was wise. Question 319. Which proverb is Touchstone reminded William of? Answer. Touchstone reminded William of the fool doth think, I repeat, the fool doth think he is wise, but the wise man knows himself to be fool. Question 320. And greater wonders than that. What are the greater wonders? And so Oliver had fallen in love with Celia at first sight, and this was the greater wonder. Question 321. What does Rosalind compare the love between Celia and Oliver with? Answer. Rosalind compares the love between Celia and Oliver as a fight between two rams who fight without any provocation. She again says that her falling in love was so swift as Julius Caesar's swift conquest of a territory. Julius Caesar, after defeating King of Pontus, sent a short message to the Roman Senate, Veni, Vidi, Vici, meaning I came, I saw, and I overcame. Question 322. How did Oliver and Celia make a pair of stairs to marriage? Answer. Oliver and Celia fell in love at first sight. As soon as they fell in love, they began to sigh for each other. No sooner did they sigh than they sought the reason, than they reached a solution to be together. They have climbed step by step to the temple of marriage. Question 323. Whom did Orlando plan to invite to the marriage ceremony of Oliver and Celia? Answer. Orlando decided to invite the Duke to the marriage ceremony of Oliver and Celia. Question 324. What do the lovers promise to each other? Answer. Rosalind, Orlando, Silvius, and Phoebe promised to each other to be faithful to their beloveds. Question 325. What announcement does Rosalind make to Orlando, Phoebe, and Silvius? Answer. Rosalind announced that they should all assemble the next day and that she should somehow to fulfill their desires. Question 326. How does Ganymede want to present real Rosalind to get married to Orlando? Answer. Ganymede wants to present real Orlando. Ganymede wants to present real Rosalind to get married to Orlando with the help of the magical powers she possessed. Question 327. From where did Rosalind get her magical powers? As Rosalind told Orlando that she had learned the magical powers from her uncle since the age of 3. Question 328. What promise does Rosalind get from Phoebe? Answer. Rosalind gets a promise from Phoebe that if Phoebe refuses to marry Ganymede, she would agree to get married to Silvius. Question 329. What resemblance of Rosalind is mentioned by the Duke? Answer. The Duke said that the boy or Ganymede resembled his daughter Rosalind. Question 330. What resemblance of Rosalind is mentioned by Orlando? Answer. Orlando said that when he first saw Ganymede, he thought that he was a brother to Rosalind. Question 331. What promises does Duke Senior make? Answer. Duke Senior promised to bestow his daughter to Orlando. Question 332. There is sure another flood tour, and these couples are coming to the ark. Who says this? What is meant by another flood? Answer. Jack says this about Touchstone and Audrey. Another flood refers to the fact that all the pairs of lovers have gathered to escape from drowning. Question 333. Whom does Jack refers to as strange beasts? Answer. Jack refers to Touchstone and Audrey as his transbeast because Touchstone was the professional fool. Question 334. Which couples are coming to Ark? Why have they all come together? Answer. The couples are Orlando and Rosalind, Oliver and Celia, Sylvius and Phoebe, and Touchstone and Audrey. They all have come together to be married to each other. Question 335. What does Touchstone mean by God ald you, sir? Answer. God ald you, sir means may God reward you. Question 336. Explain to swear and forswear according as marriage binds and blood breaks. Answer. These lines were spoken by Touchstone to Duke Senior and his lords. He said that he had come to join the other couples who would swear vows of loyalty to their marriage partners, but who would in course of time break those vows and then also break the bonds of marriage as a result of continuing quarrels after passion would break between them. Question 337. Who was the poor virgin? Answer. The poor virgin was Audrey. Question 338. What was the comparison of poor virgin? Answer. Touchstone compares the purity and chastity in ugly Audrey to a rich man who lived in a poor cottage because of his miserliness, and just as a most precious pearl lived inside an ugly shellfish. Question 339. How does Touchstone resolve the matter with the courtier? Answer. Touchstone said that he did not go beyond lie circumstantial, nor did the courtier have courage to tell him that he is a liar. So they made and measured their sword to satisfy themselves that they were of the same length and then parted. Question 340. According to Touchstone, what were the different degrees of lie? Answer. The first was polite but sharp reply courteous. The second was mildly sarcastic, quip modest. And the third was ill-tempered reply churlish. The fourth was a brave rebuke reply, that is, reproof valiant. The fifth was a provocative rebuff, counter-check quarrelsome. The sixth was the conditional lie, reply circumstantial. And the seventh was an unqualified falsehood, lie direct. Question 341. What is the way to avoid the seventh lie? Answer. The seventh lie, which leads to actual fight, can be avoided by the use of the word if in the following manner. If you say so, then I would say so. But if you did not say so, then I assure you that I also did not say so. It is the word if that is capable of making peace. Question 342. What was the first message brought by Jack Dubois? Answer. Jack Dubois brought the news that Duke Frederick had gathered a large and powerful assembly and marched towards the forest to kill his brother there. But after meeting a hermit on the outskirts, he became a convert and decided to renounce the world. Question 343. How did Jack Dubois bring welcome gifts for both his brothers? Answer. Duke Frederick had returned his dukedom to his banished brother, Duke Senior. He had also given back the confiscated land to Oliver. Duke Senior would give his dukedom to Orlando as dowry for his marriage to Rosalind. In this way, Jack Dubois brought gifts for his brothers. Question 344. What was not the fashion of the day according to Rosalind? Answer. Rosalind says that it is not a custom to see a lady speak the epilogue. Question 345. What does Rosalind tell the woman? Answer. Rosalind said, "O woman, for the sake of the love you bear to man, you should appreciate the play." Question 346. What does she tell the man? Answer. Rosalind said, "O man, for the sake of the love you bear to woman, the play should be appreciated too." Question 347. Why do people find Orlando attractive? Answer. People find Orlando attractive because he is young, brave, sweet-tempered, and ill-treated. Question 348. What are your first impressions of Jack? Answer. His delight, defiant, his egotism, his melancholy, his bold attitudes towards everything, his satire, delightful, are easily noticeable. Question 349. What are the difference between Audrey, Phoebe, Sylvius, and Rosalind and Celia? Answer. Audrey, Phoebe, Sylvius are unlettered country people, while Rosalind and Celia are from the court. 350. Why doesn't Rosalind reveal her identity to her father sooner? Answer. Rosalind does not reveal her identity to her father sooner because she has been too much interested in her own affairs. Question 351. In the epilogue, why does Rosalind say, "If I were a woman"? Answer. Rosalind says so because the part of Rosalind was played by a boy. All female parts were played by boys until the Restoration. Women did not appear on the stage until 1660. Question 352. What makes As You Like It one of the most popular of Shakespeare's plays? Answer. The delightful characters, the fresh, springly dialogue, the natural and pleasant story make it one of the most popular plays of Shakespeare. Thank you friends for watching my video.